So good morning and welcome to this morning's session. My name is Juliane and I'm from a company called CoachHub, which you might have come across just over there. I'm here to speak to you today about the professional development and fulfillment and how that impacts the retention rate for employees. So voluntary turnover is a serious problem. I think we've all seen it across different industries, across different companies, and it actually costs around £30,000 to replace the average employee. Now that cost significantly varies when you're looking at different industries. So when you're looking at, for example, the retail sector, that cost will be lower. But when you're looking at, for example, the legal sector, that cost is significantly higher. And that cost really comes down to two main things. One is obviously the recruitment process, so it's about advertising the new role, it's about recruiting for that new position, interviewing and onboarding a new employee. But the more significant cost is really about the time it takes for an employee to get up to the optimal level of productivity. So some research has been done into that, and it actually takes around 28 weeks on average for an employee to actually reach that time where they're at that optimal level of productivity. That again varies, so if you're looking at a fresh graduate, obviously they take a little bit longer to get up to speed as opposed to somebody who may have industry-specific experience. But this has a significant impact on the productivity and the output that employee provides. So the Work Institute actually did some research in terms of the voluntary turnover in the UK, and it currently stands at around 13%. That's on average across all industries. And that number is on the rise. So in 2012, that number was actually only 9%. So there's a steady increase in terms of the overall number of employees choosing to leave their jobs. When we're looking at larger companies, that number is actually even higher. That number actually goes up to 16%, as opposed to perhaps some of the smaller companies where that number is around about 12%. Now, what does that mean? That actually means that 35% of employees today are looking to leave their job in the next 3 years. And that has a significant impact. So, as it stands, more than 3 in 4 employees who quit could have actually been retained, and that really is the good news. So one of the priorities that was researched by the Work Institute is that actually 22 out of 100 employees left their position for other opportunities that would enable them to have more career development. Certain topics such as leadership behavior are well documented, but it's really about career development that is a common theme, specifically in the new generation, and something that we need to address in order to retain talented workforce and actually make sure that we have a productive workforce moving forward as well. The latest government statistics actually look at the employment rate, and that is at a record high. So actually only 4% are currently unemployed, and that is the lowest number since 1974 in the UK, which means there's a lot of choice for employees to actually go out and look for a job that would enable them to have more career development. So what we're seeing actually is that there's a real power shift. This shift has been going on for a number of years. So what we're seeing is that the new generation are not just satisfied with more money, a higher paycheck, but they actually want to actually feel like an employer would invest time in them. So it's really up to us to actually find that balance between the personal needs of an individual and actually the needs of the organization. That balance also goes for the development versus the financial reward. How much money should we be investing into our employees, and how do we scale that effectively across the entire workforce? Particularly when we have employees who might be working remote, who might be traveling a lot, we have to find a way to actually make sure that we address that gap and actually offer the development opportunities that our employees deserve. So Deloitte and PwC actually did a number of surveys around the employee experience, which I'm sure you all agree is key. And what they found is actually that top young workers want to have flexible working hours, which again is a theme that comes across quite often. But again, they also want to have training and development opportunities. So that is a theme that runs across both surveys as found by Deloitte and PwC. And there's really a shift towards that focus on training and development, which again links back to the key reason why people choose to leave their employer. So it is incredibly important for us to actually make sure that we have the right tools in place and that we actually have a scalable means of providing that time that our employees require. So what's important for the new millennial generation? So currently 50% of the workforce are millennials, and that number is due to rise to 75% in the next 5 years. And millennials demand a different way of working. So some of the research by the Institute of Leadership and Management has actually found that employees demand coaching rather than being managed by their boss. So this is a whole different style of working. It really means that there's a behavioral shift from management to actually being a coach and guiding your employees throughout their careers. The second thing which they found is actually that empowering millennial staff with greater autonomy is something that is very valued by millennials, but is also something that is key to retention. So a lot of millennials, as I'm sure you're probably aware, really embrace that new technology and actually like to use that to actually drive their own development forward and actually look at new opportunities within their roles. So how does digital coaching actually improve the employee experience and retention? Let's have a look at your employees first. So employees want a number of things. One is the personal support and honest feedback, and that's really something that will enable them to grow as a person. So through digital coaching, we actually have the opportunity to speak to employees at scale and to actually provide top professional coaches to actually guide your employees and to actually support that behavioral change. Coaching is really about driving behavioral change as opposed to perhaps mentoring or the traditional hard skills training that companies provide. What we provide at CoachHub is actually regular video coaching sessions as well as micro-learnings. And also, and this is more important, a really measurable way to actually check the progress that is being made from your employees. So when you think about traditional coaching, a lot of that is actually limited to top executives. You might think about the sporting world, you might think about top athletes as well being coached. And it was actually Bill Gates who mentioned in one of his TED Talks in 2013 that every employee should have access to a coach. And this is really something that we live at CoachHub and something that we would like to provide to everybody in the organization. One of the benefits that we have being a digital platform is that we are actually able to actually track the usage and the impact of coaching as well. So what does that mean for your organization? So coaching really is about driving collaboration and actually looking at increasing productivity and performance, increasing innovation and growth, and increasing satisfaction and engagement, all of which actually improves the retention rate across the board. So I'm sure many of you have leadership development programs in place, and a study was done on the impact of coaching and how that relates to leadership development opportunities. So when you're looking at a traditional sort of workshop across 3 days, which is typically done face-to-face, the difference between those who had coaching as a follow-up and those who did not have coaching was significant. So those who actually had coaching as a follow-up after that workshop were on average 88% more effective as a leader versus those who did not have access to coaching, who were only 24% more productive as a leader following that session. So this is a significant impact. So coaching really helps employees to drive and cement that change, and that's something that we enable through systemic coaching. One of the other things that coaching is also proven to enhance is actually increased innovation and business growth across the board. So it's really about enabling your employees to actually have a different perspective on their current situation, and that's something that is sometimes very difficult to achieve. So it's not about perhaps looking at opportunities outside of your organization, but it's about looking at the perspective and what employees can change themselves in their current role through having access to a systemic coach. So a systemic coach asks a lot of questions with regards to the goals that employees have and actually provides them the tools and activates resources that haven't been used so far by the employee. One of the impacts that's also been proven to come through coaching is actually a reduction of stress. So I think all of us here have stress at a certain time and a certain place, and that's actually something that coaching also helps to reduce. So scientific research has actually proven to reduce stress levels by 20% after 8 to 10 coaching sessions. And that's something that, again, I think all of us could benefit from. So all these different elements actually look and impact the retention rates across the board, whether it's actually enhancing your leaders to be more effective in their roles, or actually opening this access up to your employees, who will then be better at collaborating across the board with various stakeholders. As many of you know, in terms of traditional coaching, if that's something that you offer, it's very difficult, and it's something that is currently in most companies only available to top executives. So it's about finding the right coach, whether you have somebody in-house or whether you already have somebody who might be able to have a session in the office as well. It's about finding that right coach and actually scaling that across the organization. That can be very difficult in a time when more people are actually working from home, more employees travel, and there's actually a need to scale coaching across an organization with various offices. So this becomes very complicated when coaching is something that you want to offer to all of your employees. The second thing is that obviously people are very busy, and things often change. So schedules change, timelines change, and once you've perhaps found that coach, it might not be as easy as it seems to actually bring them together with the coachee. The third, and I think most important part as well, is actually measuring the impact of coaching. So those of you who have access to coaching know the benefits of coaching, but sometimes it's difficult to actually explain that benefit and to roll this out to more stakeholders across the organization. And this is really where we come in. So this is really an opportunity to measure the impact and actually look at some of the improvements that are taking place across the board. So CoachHub is a digital coaching company, which is a relatively new concept, whereby we connect top professional business coaches to your employees. All of that is done via the platform and at a time and place convenient to the employee. So we take the hassle out of scheduling meetings, scheduling coaching sessions, and actually finding the right coach for you to actually support your workforce. So this is all done by our in-house team that actually screens the coaches to make sure that they have the right level of experience, and that we only work with accredited coaches who have at least 500 hours of coaching experience, but most of them actually go up to 1,000 hours. We also support coaching in various different languages, which again is key when you have employees who might not be native English speakers or might not be located actually in your local offices. So we currently support over 30 different languages and actually give employees the choice to actually look at which language they would like to be coached in. I think one of the most important things as well is that we make that impact measurable. So all of our coachees are actually have the opportunity to self-reflect in terms of their capabilities and are going through an extensive assessment to actually look at how they would rate themselves in terms of their own capabilities and in some of the areas that they would like to grow and develop as a person. So we track that development and actually give you access to some of the key topics that are being discussed on the top level in these coaching sessions. So a lot of the time when you have access to face-to-face coaching, a coach might know anecdotal evidence in terms of some of the topics that are discussed, but may not be able to give an objective, unbiased view in terms of what topics impact your organization. We actually take the hassle out of having those conversations and actually give you an unbiased and objective view in terms of some of the topics that might be discussed and might come up in your organization, and some of the topics as well that you can use to then inform other investment decisions in other L&D programs. So if, for example, communication or collaboration is a reoccurring topic in your organization, you can actually look at that topic and actually look at what initiatives you can plan and put into place to affect that and drive a better outcome. So our mission at CoachHub is to democratize coaching and to actually unleash the full potential of your people and drive the transformation of your business. That's it from my side. I would be more than happy to take any questions, and also if you're interested in any demonstrations of our platform, you can find us right here. Thank you.